Next on American Movie Classics, a cargo of spirits turns the tide in the delightful comedy Whiskey Galore. It's next on American Movie Classics.
Stage Door was a tremendous hit. It grossed over $2 million for RKO, and the production was important to Katharine Hepburn's career. First, it was the smash hit that she really needed after a series of pretty bad movies. And second, she met and became very good friends with Constance Collier, who played a drama coach. While Collier was not well-known nationwide, she was a true celebrity among the Hollywood community. Her exuberant conversation was in demand by every Hollywood hostess, and she was one of the few people in Hollywood that almost everybody adored. I think their off-screen relationship was pretty evident in the scenes that they played together in this. Now, Collier became Hepburn's confidant as well, her real-life drama coach and her mentor. And Collier would figure in prominently, that is, years later, when Katharine Hepburn began doing Shakespeare on the stage, something which I was privileged to witness a number of times, notably in the Shakespeare Stratford Festival in Connecticut, where she did Portia in The Merchant of Venice. It was a wonderful, wonderful moment. Katharine Hepburn was not only a great actress, but she was a leader among women long before it was fashionable, before there was a Gloria Steinem doing that sort of thing. Katharine Hepburn was quietly in the background, leading an industry that was traditionally led by men. She was an early aviatrix, they used to call lady aviators in those days. She learned how to fly an airplane and did it very well from Howard Hughes. So there was that part. That was before people were saying women driver and people in cars. Katharine Hepburn not only do that, she was able to run her own companies, negotiate her own contracts. She was a true leader among women, and I think somebody that young people can look up to today just as we did then when we were contemporaries of the great Katharine Hepburn. We'll be right back, but first let's look at this.
In July, American Movie Classics turns Midsummer Night Dreams into a sensational month of movie magic. From a spectacular sampling of Hometown USA to a festival featuring spirited young Americans with high hopes, celebrate July with American Movie Classics. Home is where the heart is, and we've got a parade of great films saluting Hometown USA.
Well, that isn't that nice.
Robert Preston leads the band in one of the best movie musicals of all time, The Music Man. Then, a story of love, honor, and personal triumph. Gene Crane, June Haver, and Walter Brennan are Home in Indiana. Susan Hayward portrays a sophisticated girl whose move to the country teaches her a lesson in love. I'd climb the highest mountain. And Katharine Hepburn plays a small-town girl whose search for love brings her to Fred McMurray in Alice Adams. Plus, Alan Arkin, Cicely Tyson, Stacy Keach, and Sandra Locke bring to life Carson McCullers' sentimental story, The Heart is a Lonely Hunter. Starting July 27th, join us for a week-long festival of high hopes, movies of ambition, struggle, and success.
How does that strike you?
First, June Haver and Mark Stevens in a toe-tapping musical biography, I Wonder Who's Kissing Her Now. Then, Ginger Rogers comes to terms with romance in her Academy Award-winning portrayal of Kitty Foyle. Loretta Young also gives an Oscar-winning performance as the spirited farmer's daughter. Kirk Douglas stars as a struggling musician in Young Man with a Horn, co-starring Lauren Bacall and Doris Day. And an ambitious lawyer thinks nice guys finish last. Jack Benny stars as the meanest man in the world. And our year-long tribute to Tinseltown's 100th birthday continues. On July 22nd, we've got two from the master of suspense, Alfred Hitchcock. First, Ingrid Bergman, Cary Grant, and Oscar nominee Claude Rains star in the Hitchcock classic Notorious. And Ingrid Bergman stars again with Gregory Peck in the stunning thriller Spellbound. So, dive into a sizzling summer of adventure, excitement, and hot-blooded romance. In July, celebrate the world's greatest movies on American Movie Classics.
Now I notice that we have time for another piece from our film archives. If you've been watching American Movie Classics regularly, you will know that over the past year we've put together an enormous and diversified film library We have biographies about a lot of the great stars and clips from the early days of motion pictures, documentaries about Hollywood's great silent era, newsreel footage that covers many of the great people and historic events of the 20th century, and of course, those classic screen moments, too, from the cinema's legendary films. All in all, we now have more than 500 pieces covering every era of film history, and this is all part of our daily programming, where we try to bring you not only the best in these classic films, but also we often show film footage rarely seen anywhere else. Here's a good example of what I mean. Let's take a look. The Oscar, the most sought-after award in the motion picture industry. Most every person who has ever worked in the film business strives for this elusive gold statue. To win an Oscar signifies that in a particular year, you were voted the very best in your craft by your peers, whether it be acting, directing, producing, or any other labor connected with the making of a successful motion picture. It was MGM art director Cedric Gibbons who designed the original Oscar statue, and the first award ceremony took place in 1928, when the silent classic Wings won Best Picture honors. Since those first gold statues were handed out over 50 years ago, the Oscar has become a highly contested and coveted item. Each year, millions upon millions of people, not only in this country, but the world over, tune into the televised Oscar special to see who will walk away with the prize statue in each category. The list of Oscar-winning films and people over the last half-century represents the finest the film industry has given to the world. Conversely, the list of Oscar non-winners is almost as impressive. It's hard to believe that outstanding performers such as Richard Burton, Barbara Stanwyck, Paul Newman, Kirk Douglas, Judy Garland, and Cary Grant have never won an Oscar for any of their memorable screen portrayals. What's more, great directors such as Alfred Hitchcock, Cecil B. DeMille, Howard Hawks, and Orson Welles were never honored by the Academy voters for their directorial genius. These great directors and performers have given so much to the world through their screen triumphs, and yet they are the great Oscar losers. Until 1982, the leading contender in the Oscar sweepstakes for actors was Richard Burton. Nominated 7 times, Burton failed to win a single Oscar in his long and illustrious career. Then, in 1982, Peter O'Toole received his 7th Best Actor nomination for his work in My Favorite Year. But when Ben Kingsley won for his portrayal of Gandhi, O'Toole moved into a tie with Burton for most Oscar losses. Second on the list of also-rans among actors is Paul Newman. Nominated 6 times, Newman has never had the pleasure of bringing the statue home. In third place are character actor Arthur Kennedy and leading man Al Pacino, each with 5 unsuccessful ballot